Marketing ROI does not have to be some magical state of dollars in, dollars out that doesn't really exist, that nobody knows how to calculate it, but really we want to know. Good morning, everybody. Today, Ruby and I are talking about the implications of the construct of ROI in marketing. And that dovetails nicely with how much money should I be spending on marketing, and the numbers I've historically thrown around are if you're in B2B, that's 2 to 5% of revenue, top line revenue. And if you're in B2C, that's 5 to 15% of top line revenue. Those are arbitrary constructs. They don't really have any definition to a particular company or particular business. So this decision to look at ROI becomes a little less meaningful when you have other things to look at. So we throw around brand a lot. Brand awareness, very important, by the way. So not taking away from that. But for the CFOs who might be watching this, we want to get specific with where the numbers are starting to come from. And some of that is brand, let's be very frank. But structurally, how do we make better decisions with regards to money before we start cutting things willy-nilly? Well, we spent 11% last year, now we're going to spend 7%. Well, based on what? You don't know. You think you know. You don't know. So arbitrary numbers don't really help. So if we start thinking about it from a cost of acquisition perspective, that becomes a little more practical. How much does it cost us to get a new customer? We can work with that. Those are hard dollars. That's math. You can figure that out. And then on top of that, what is our cost of acquisition payback period? How many months does it take, based upon not only how much it costs us to get a customer, but our margins, to actually go out and make the money back for that customer? That's a really good one, in my opinion. And I'm really more and more falling in love with that calculation. Lifetime value, and I've been shown the light, there's a lot of nuance to that, and there's a lot of potential for make-upness in that. And so cost of acquisition and cost of acquisition payback period become a little bit more practical when it comes to that. But you can also do this calculation around percentages on net new customers. So if we're going to say we want to spend 10% of our marketing budget on something, well, let's not make it the big number, $10 million. Let's make it on the amount of net new revenue we get. So what that tends to lend itself towards is we're doing better at getting new customers into our funnel. And if we're spending money against those new customers, that tends to have a tighter alignment, because if we're spending 10% of total top line, but our acquisition percentage is only 5% or 10% or 15%, and that means we're marketing to a bunch of people who already know us, who already love us, who are already spending money with us. Not to say that that's not something we should do, but maybe we don't put all our eggs in the current customer basket. And when we go against top line revenue as a total number, maybe we do a lot of that by accident. And so our cost of acquisition structure tends to be a little bit more practical to that. So putting your CFO hat on, I like that conversation. So ROI still matters. Dollars in, dollars out is less practical. But when you can put things like cost of acquisition and cost of acquisition payback period against it, gosh, it makes a lot more sense to how do we actually invest in marketing. And let me say this very clearly. It is an investment. It is not a cost center. It is an investment in the future growth of your business. It's an investment in pipeline that a lot of companies don't do a really good job of doing that calculation and measuring and managing against pipeline, which is in a B2B space where we want to be. In a B2C space, totally different. It's how the door opens. So marketing is lifeblood, it's oxygen. And so how do we do that appropriately? So understanding cost of acquisition payback periods can be a little bit more practical to what you're doing. All right, enough for today. Ruby says ROI as a traditional construct, let's just put that aside. Let's look at it from a much more practical cost of acquisition model. Let's look at it against net new revenues. Like, what are we doing to go out and get more stuff? Create bigger pieces of a pie. That's where this marketing spend gets a little bit more practical. Yes, spend on brand. Yes, spend on places where your customer spends time, but do it with that lens so that your CFO now thinks of that as less about dollars in, dollars out, and more about what is the investment that we have to make to get the outcomes we want. All right, enough for today. Walking and talking with Ruby.